Alright everyone, it's Friday, Celtic are back tomorrow. We're going to preview the game against Hearts and discuss whatever else is happening right now with John. Hello John.
Hello, Hamish. How you doing?
Very well, very well. It's been a nice little break. Not too bad Celtic wise. I've managed not to watch a single international match. Have you managed that
Good
as
for
well, or
you.
did you sit through some Scotland?
I did watch the Scotland games, but the less said about that, the better. Let's put it that way. I'm not really amongst the troop of people who are big Steve Clark supporters. So,
You've not got him down
but
as future Celtic manager or anything like that.
yeah, my mother taught me if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. And I think I'll keep my counsel on Steve Clark at the moment. I think.
Okay, we don't need to talk about Steve Clark today. Tasty old chunk coming up, John, before the next international break. 6 games over the course of 3 weeks. 3 home games first, and then 3 away games. We've got Hearts at home, Slovan Bratislava at home, Falkirk at home, and then St Johnstone away, Borussia Dortmund away, and Ross County away. I won't ask you which one stands out there. 5 wins and a draw in Dortmund. Does that sound good to you?
What about 6 wins? No, but yeah, I mean, this is an exciting time, isn't it? I think this is when we're going to start finding out whether all the excitement from before the international break was earned and justified, or what kind of Celtic we see over the next month or so. I'm really looking forward to all the games. I think obviously the Champions League games take precedent here in this next little run. Especially this home game against Slovan Bratislava. I think that's going to tell us a lot about what kind of group stage we can expect from the team. But again, I think I said it last time, it's about finding out where Celtic are at the moment. And there's obviously a lot of excitement about the way the team are playing, the way they're scoring goals, the way they're not just conceding the one goal in the League Cup so far. So there's a lot of optimism, and now we see whether they can back that up with tougher tests, different competition, home and away. I think it's a really tasty set of fixtures until the dreaded next international break.
Yeah, as I say, next international break isn't too far away. We've got another one after that as well. But for now, we can just look forward to these games. Yeah, they're tasty games. The Champions League ones, as you say, are the ones that really stand out. What do you think generally about where we're at the moment? Could we be in much of a better place going into this run of fixtures?
No, I don't think we could be in a much better place. You might make a sign or two extra on top of what we had, but I think generally Brendan Rodgers has prepared the team about as well as you would expect over the last 6 months for this very run of fixtures, for this next couple of months, which now until Christmas, after Christmas, this is undoubtedly the toughest time of the season. Celtic have built into it gradually. I think some of the players are looking on top form, and again, you think of a player just picking, singling someone out, particularly who I know you're excited about, Nicholas Kuhn. You're just wondering. This is where you find out, is Nicholas Kuhn, is he the caliber of player that we want him to be? That's what we're going to find out over this next couple of months. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. You find out whether this early season form, where it's a little bit easier, there's one game a week, there's no midweek match, it's all a little bit smooth. Can Nicholas Kuhn, and I'm not singling him out for any reason, just as an example, can a player like Nicholas Kuhn produce, match after match, when the schedule tightens up, when the opponents get tougher? Can a player like that really step up? And that's what I'm looking forward to.
I cannot wait to see him going forward. I think that Champions League, that space that we're going to play into Nicholas Kuhn, Dies and Maida, fills it with so much excitement. Yeah, it's been a decent enough international break Celtic-wise. I covered it yesterday, John, but lots of players not really playing for their countries, which I guess, get the likes of Rio Hatate and Liam Scales and Austin Trusty will be disappointed about that. On a personal note, it's not bad news Celtic-wise. Obviously, like Callum McGregor wasn't away, like James Forrest, Greg Taylor weren't away, Kyogo wasn't away. Alistair Johnston, the only real injury concern. Things appear to be okay there, but I guess we'll hear from Brendan Rodgers later today.
Yeah, we'll find out in the press conference. I think I'm not too worried about it. I mean, initially when you see it, I wasn't watching the game live or anything, but you hear the news the next morning and it's Alistair Johnston goes off after 25 minutes with a hamstring problem. You're like, oh, here we go. But I think Jesse Marsh kind of he suggested after the game that this similar happened to Johnston in June, didn't it? Where he kind of came off in a match, he kind of felt something, a little bit of a tweak in his hamstring, and he made basically the player himself made the call to come off because it was a friendly. And I think that's what's happened here. I think Johnston has been very careful, desperate to be involved with the Champions League games, desperate to be involved week to week. I mean, you saw the interview. I don't know if you personally saw them, Hamish, but the interviews that Johnston gave, he's desperate to be playing every week for Celtic, and I think the decision was just taken because it was a friendly with the United States. There's no use staying on the pitch, so I'm pretty hopeful that that's not going to be too concerning. He might not play this weekend. He might just play Ralston and keep him fresh, but hopefully, fingers crossed, there's no major concerns when it comes to the game next Wednesday night.
Because he's one of the players you look at in the Champions League and you say, we need you to perform at that level. Like I absolutely love Alistair Johnston. I went on record as saying I think he's the best right back we've had in a number of years. Then someone reminded me of Jeremy Frimpong. But I'd maintain maybe for Celtic that Johnston is and can be the best right back we've had since, I don't know, pluck any name from the noughties. But yeah, I think he's brilliant. But you look at the Champions League last year, he wasn't particularly great. I think it's fair to say. I know he maybe had injury stuff going on at that stage, but that kind of sums up, you talk about Kuhn, I talk about Johnston, that sums up this period for me as well. Like, domestically, these guys shine, but can they kind of make that leap and become these big players at Champions League level? Because, as I say, Johnston was at fault a little bit last year. He wasn't the only one, but he was caught out a few times. But the Alistair Johnston from Copa America, who got in the team of the tournament, if we can get that guy at that level in the Champions League, we'll be laughing.
I agree. I know we've seen Rodgers teams in Europe with us before, but again, it's just another chance to see what the manager is bringing in Europe as well. And like, he's talked a lot this summer about they've worked on different stuff in pre-season in terms of how they organise themselves off the ball. He's been talking a lot about the intensity of the pressing, the aggression in the game, doing the physical hard work which sets up attacking opportunities. He's been recycling that pattern a lot. And again, I said this when Ange was here, but it's the same is true now. You judge a manager on, if what he's saying you can see on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you can see what Rodgers is selling in the media, if you can see that, come through on the pitch, that's really where you're judging a manager. Because me and you, we could go to a press conference, Hamish, and say, right, we want Celtic to play fast attacking football, aggressive, in the press and physically combative. We could go to a press conference and say that, but it's about how the manager gets the players to do that, and it's going to be very interesting to see if we can kind of step up a level, and whether we do see that the translation of this intense physicality, this almost, I wouldn't say Rodgers has been talking with a defensive mindset, but he's been very much putting the focus on you need to do the hard work to create the space and the attacking opportunities. And I'm excited to see whether that also translates and we see those words on the pitch, specifically against Bratislava.
Luke McCowan spoke about that in midweek about a big emphasis being placed on what you do when you've not got the ball. See, just in the playing style, do you think Rodgers has gone back to what the previous manager Ange Postecoglou did at all? Do you think that's been in his thinking? Because for me, looking at his playing right now, we look very similar to 2 years ago.
It's difficult. I think when he came in last year, he was fighting fires, and I think he was fighting fires in the sense that there was, and whether people want to admit it or not, I'm certainly not ashamed to admit it, there was a massive Ange hangover at the club. Yeah. And I think that wasn't just from the supporters' perspective. I think there was also a case of that with the players as well, and even players like Maeda, Kyogo and stuff. I do think there was a period of transition there where they were trying to get used to the way Brendan Rodgers works. Less so for Callum McGregor, obviously, he's worked with both of them before, but I'm talking about the players that Ange signed that were a big part of the team. Some people, a lot of them really shone with the new style of management, specifically Matt O'Reilly. So it's not like it was all a bad thing. It was just a period of adjustment. I just felt like he was fighting fires a little bit, especially when the recruitment was subpar. He didn't really get the players he believed in the door, you would suggest. And I just think it's not really going back to what it was, because I don't think it's too, I do still think we're a little bit more patient with the ball than an Ange team. I think we're less cut and thrust and
less chaotic.
Less chaotic, less direct, I would suggest. But we know that from before, Brendan Rodgers likes players who play direct. He likes fast wingers. He likes players who can run in behind. Like, that is part of his game plan against teams who don't sit in. So it's perhaps not going back. I just think he's getting more out of this team. It's difficult because a lot of people are so focused on what you can tangibly measure in football now, the statistics, the numbers, etc., etc. And I get all that to an extent, but I do think Brendan Rodgers brings something intangible to whatever his process is, and the way that he coaches and puts belief in the players. He has, right now, I feel like he has the players believing in what he wants to do on the pitch, and it's just all kind of coming together. And I think that is where we're seeing these players go a little bit extra in terms of their intensity and their effort to get to the ball, to close down players. I think it comes down to the players perhaps more believing in Rodgers rather than him making a big shift tactically.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. They're massively motivated at the moment just watching them. I mean, I was thinking earlier, you look at all of our performances so far in this season, you can go to pre-season as well. We've been really good in every game. Apart from that first friendly, Ayr United, every game you've watched, and you're probably including pre-season, you're looking at, and yeah, that's the one I was at, by the way, the United one, just for the avoidance of doubt. I think we're looking at 7 or 8 games in all, and we've been really good in every game. It's not like Celtic are kind of just grinding out some wins. I think I've enjoyed watching certainly every competitive match so far this season. So the team have hit a massive level. Arne Engels, Luke McCowan met the media this week. John, did anything stand out from what either of them had to say?
No, I mean, I think they both talk well. I mean, again, I just think Celtic are bringing in players who know their standing and know what they can offer the team. I don't think any of these guys are coming in confused about the part they're going to play in this team. I think even Luke McCowan, who's probably not going to get as many minutes as Arne Engels, let's be kind about it, but he's coming in and he knows the job that he's performing. He knows, he's spoken to Rodgers, he knows exactly what his role's going to be. And I think that's kind of shining through from everyone coming into the club. All of the players, all of the recruitment this summer, I think has been thought out and planned. There's a plan for the guys coming in, and I don't know if we had that last season. I think that's the big difference. And I think that shines through in interviews. I mean, even Voljami Sinisalo, even, on international duty, he gave an interview to the Finnish media, and they were kind of asking him, what's it like sitting behind Schmeichel, what's the plan? And he was just very forthright. He was just basically like, it's too soon for me to be a starting goalkeeper. It would be silly for me to come from League One, where he was playing on loan, to come straight to Celtic to be a starting goalkeeper. I'm here to be a backup, and the long-term plan, all going well, is that I eventually become number one in 1 or 2 years. And I think even the backup goalkeeper having that clarity on what his role is this season bodes really well. And I think that's the same is true for Engels, the same is true for McCowan, the same is true for even Alex Valle. All the players who have come have spoke pretty well about what they're here to do, and hopefully we see that over the course of the season.
They all seem like really kind of confident as well, and really good teammates. Like it seems like we've signed people with really good personalities as well. Because you know what footballers can be like at these press conferences. And listen, it's a pretty daunting environment when you've just signed for a club, especially if English isn't your first language, to be put in front of, 20 journalists and have questions chucked at you. But all of them, I think, have offered something and really come across well, which is good. I wonder if we'll see Sinisalo against Falkirk next weekend, just with the midweek game before it.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised he didn't play in the last round, to be honest with you. But there might just be Schmeichel. He wants to give Schmeichel more games with the defenders, etc., etc. So maybe we won't. But he kind of suggested in that interview in Finland that he does have the impression that he is going to get some sort of game time.
Okay.
This season. So whether that's against Falkirk or whether it's the early rounds of the Scottish Cup, I don't know. But I do think we'll see him at some point. Okay,
let's turn attention to Hearts. Big game tomorrow. and they are struggling. You probably know that, but you might not know much else about Hearts. So to find out more, I spoke to Adam Kennedy, who is a Hearts fan who does the Perth to Paisley podcast, and I started by asking him how bad things really are at Hearts right now.
Woeful. It's been an absolutely torrid start to the season. I've been to all 3 home games so far. We've played a combined 4.5 hours and we're yet to score a goal. It's been a really, really tough start. I see people from the outside using Europe as an excuse. Personally, I don't, because all we've played is Victoria Pilsen in that playoff. I'm partly disappointed about the result, but looking at it, less games in the conference, I think that will probably prove more beneficial for us domestically as well. So, yeah, it's been a tough start. Obviously, a load of new bodies have come in. I don't think we know our best formation, our best starting 11. And there seems to be selection issues, personnel issues, and then questions are obviously asked of an inexperienced manager once you add all this in. So there's been a lot of ingredients that so far it's looking like a recipe for disaster, even so early on.
Yeah, so it's probably hard for you to answer why things have gone wrong, because you last season finished third by a good bit, didn't you? First game of the season, the only Hearts game I've seen this season was against Rangers, and could well have won that game. Played pretty well, I thought. So just since then, it hasn't happened for whatever reason.
It is bizarre because I left Tynecastle that day thinking exactly the same as you. On another day, we could have won that. And then since then, we've obviously gone to Dundee. We're woeful first half, picked up second, but by then the game was done. Motherwell, awful. And then Dundee United, even prior to the international break, I don't think we could have asked for better fixtures really. In that first 4, I think particularly newly promoted Dundee United and Motherwell I expect to struggle as well. So the last 2, I would have thought that we would have clicked into gear by now. The only consolation and the reason why I'm not panicking too much is that it was a stuttering start last season, and as you rightly say there, it ended well. So it just feels similar, but that team probably had more encouragement going for it. You could see that there were signs. This season so far, we've seen very little to suggest that it's going to turn around anytime soon, and the fixtures don't get any easier, obviously, with after the international break here.
So is Stephen Naismith's job under threat? Like how far away? Do you still want him as manager? And how far away are you and other fans from just saying his time's up?
It's difficult because I think the fact that he was so inexperienced and got the job in the first place. Football fans are fickle, aren't they? Last season we got away with it. And I think a large part of it was just Lawrence Shankland having the season of his career, and basically carried us to third pretty much single-handedly. His form and our form seem to coincide. He's not scored yet this season, so we, of course, then look a lot less menacing. In terms of Stephen Naismith, there are games where you're left baffled by some of the decisions and substitutions that he makes. Other games where you look at it and think tactically that was spot on. So I'd say he's got some credit in the bank for last season, but he's on a very sugary peg. And I think if things don't turn around quickly, obviously with the added European fixtures, like I mentioned, it's only going to end one way, sadly.
So what is the story with Shankland? Is he struggling because Hearts are struggling, or Hearts struggling because Shankland's struggling?
It is a little bit of both. To me, I think the way that we're set up just does not suit Lawrence Shankland at all. To me, I'd like to see a flat back 4, if I'm honest. I know that when we beat Celtic both times last season, we ended up playing a back 3. So maybe this is the one game where, because we're not expected to get a result, you get away with playing 3 centre halves. But for more winnable fixtures and easier games, I would like to see a flat back 4. I'd like to see pace in the wide areas and try and provide some sort of width and genuine service for Lawrence Shankland, because to me, he's starved of it. I'm sick of seeing him come deep pretty much to the centre circle just to get a touch on the ball. I don't also think that Hearts have enough creativity in the middle of the park. I was really pleased when I saw the signings of Blair Spittle and Jan Danda. I think they both occupy a similar position. The rest of our midfielders are pretty kind of industrious and more protective. I don't think they have anybody with that real kind of guile or can pick that killer pass. So to me, it's just a lack of service. And even the wide players, Alan Forrest, I think, has a lot to offer Hearts. He's barely kicked a ball, really. So I'd like to see pace in the wide areas. Lawrence Shankland, obviously, as that focal point, and people just picking up areas surrounding him, pretty much. I think that's how we'll see the benefit.
Yeah. What are the expectations for this match then? Genuinely, I mean, what's a good result for Hearts? Because you did do really well against us last season.
Yeah. Do you know what it is, though? It's the law of averages. Something tells you that eventually you're going to have to try and get a result, because this Celtic Park is not a happy hunting ground for Hearts, I think it's fair to say. I'd snap your arm off for a point, but the way that Celtic are performing, I just cannot see anything other than a comfortable victory for those of a green and white persuasion this weekend. I honestly can't see anything other than a 3-0, 4-0 Celtic, because as much as we look awful, Celtic look really, really slick. And I think they're going to take some beating, particularly domestically, obviously.
Yeah. Is there any positivity, Adam? Come on, give us some Hearts positivity. No, I don't know why I'm asking for Hearts positivity. People are going to be unsubscribing. Dear, oh dear, what's happened to me?
I was going to say, I didn't expect that question from you.
I can't see you like this.
That's all right, mate. It swings and roundabouts. It was going too well for Hearts last season. Look, stranger things have happened. Hearts do have a tendency to pull a result from nowhere sometimes, but that's about as positive as I can be, given, like I say, we're just not in a good place, and Celtic look as though they've wrapped up the league title already, if I'm honest.
Adam sounding pretty down there, John, but I did say to him after that first games back after the break are always tricky. I think you rarely, could be wrong here, but my mind tells me you rarely see Celtic at their free-flowing best. So how are you feeling about tomorrow's game?
I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty confident. I don't want to be too gloating too much in advance of a kick-off, but I can't see Hearts getting a result against this. I've seen them a couple of times this season. They're in a bit of a mess. Personally, I think they're in a bit of a mess under Naismith at the moment, and they're in that kind of spiral, it feels like. And whether Naismith has got the cojones to get them out of a spiral like that remains to be seen, but I can't see it starting against Celtic. I mean, these are the games where these managers go in and say, this is the game that could kickstart our season, and obviously a big game again away to Celtic at Celtic Park is obviously they're going to be up for it probably, but I just think we'll be able to exploit the weaknesses that they have at the moment, which is they can't retain possession and they're not doing very well in front of the goal. And I just think though that's a recipe coming to Celtic Park for disaster, really.
Yeah, I was surprised when Adam said that Shankland hasn't scored yet this season, and also he said that Hearts started similarly last season and obviously went on to finish third. So it'll be interesting to see if they turn things around under Naismith, or if they've just reached the point where it's not going to be salvageable. I'm pretty confident for the game too. What about team-wise? You can actually be in charge of picking a team if you want for this one.
Nice. Well, I mean, I wouldn't play Johnston just even if he's fine. I don't think there's any need to play him. I think Ralston, he's got his detractors in the Scotland shirt, but I think he can do a job for Celtic at Scottish Premiership level. So I would immediately have, Schmeichel in goal, Ralston, Taylor on the other side, defenders. Do we know the status of Carter Vickers? I know he took a sore one on his foot in the derby, didn't he? And that was the reason why he didn't go off to the United States, and he was kind of left the stadium in a protective boot. I think the chat was that he was going to be fine. Again, that's another thing we're going to find out from the manager later. But obviously, if he's fit, he's starting. And then what are you feeling? Are you sticking with Scales, or are you bringing Trusty in?
Oh, I think Scales didn't play across the international break, so I think you keep Scales going next to Carter Vickers if he's fit. And I think, again, you look at the Falkirk game as Trusty's debut. I just think these are two really big games. Scales was fantastic against Rangers. Let's not upset the defence. Midfield-wise, you've got options. I've gone with the same midfield as the derby. I wonder if Tuesday night would be in his mind at all. Will you see, and yes, can go for the whole team, will you see the same team start the game on Saturday and Wednesday night as well? Sorry, Wednesday.
I think the big 50-50 call is whether you go with Engels or Bernardo, isn't it? Bernardo was excellent against Rangers, and I would probably keep him in the team. But again, you're bringing Engels in, when are you going to start him? I mean, tomorrow seems like a pretty good game to start Engels to me.
And what, Bernardo on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think I would probably go that way around. But then, you're not bringing an 11 pound player to sit on the bench in the Champions League either. It's a really difficult one, that one, because I think the way that if Bernardo hadn't played well against Rangers, everyone would be saying, get Engels in the team. But Bernardo, for the first 45 minutes anyway, I thought was superb. So it's hard to drop him. Do you know what I mean? But I think the good thing is that there is those options, and there is that debate. I don't think it'll weaken the team, basically, whoever is picked in that midfield, obviously with Hatate and McGregor as the other two.
But does it have to be Hatate? And, could it be Bernardo and Engels? Or are they maybe a little bit similar? What does your gut tell you?
I would keep Hatate in the team. I think with O'Reilly not there, I think that Hatate is going to be our creative force more often than not. I was delighted that Hatate stayed this summer, because at the start of the summer, I was looking at Hatate as one of the ones that might leave over the course of the summer. Just the way things the way he was kind of presenting himself towards the end of last year. And so I'm delighted he stays, and I think he's our creative force, I think, when he's on top form. So I'd keep Hatate in the team wherever possible, and then we'll see what Engels has over time. But I'm more than happy for Bernardo to stay at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good place to be. Up front, the front three, I've gone Kuhn, Kyogo, Maeda for tomorrow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That would be my team tomorrow, and that would probably be my team on Wednesday night as well. And then, we've got a lot of expensive players sitting on the bench, but I mean, again, it's a good place to be. And Rodgers does use all the players. He does bring subs into the game. So we will see Ida, we will see Engels if he doesn't start tomorrow. We will see all these guys. We'll see Valle at some point, I'm sure, as well. So we are going to be seeing a lot of the new players. It's just, I think a lot of the players right now have earned their spot in the shirt, and I don't really see a need for changing it too much.
Yeah. We've got tomorrow. Then we look ahead to Slovan Bratislava Wednesday night. It's going to be a big night, an interesting night, with us being favourites for the game, but a huge opportunity. And as we've said, we're just entering such an exciting period, John, and it all starts tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, again, if we can't win this first game, I think we've got to show that we're here to play in this new phase, this new league phase, or whatever they're calling it. I think it's a really nice fixture to come out in the first game for us. I think if we were away to Dortmund or Atalanta in this first game, it's a bit of a groan. But there's a real excitement, there's real optimism, and it's really on the team to show that they belong at that level. And I'm really just looking for a win, however it comes. That's really what I'm looking for from that one. And I think we can do that. I think we can do that.
I think if we hit our top level with Celtic Park behind us, I think it could be a great evening. Really looking forward to it. By the way, just for anyone looking to scoop general sale tickets for the Bratislava game, I did get an email from Celtic. I don't know if you got this, John, or if they've posted on their social media, but saying that tickets will go on sale from 2 p.m. today. That's Friday. So to purchase tickets, you must have already registered with e-ticketing on or before August the 28th. A maximum of 6 tickets will apply per booking. So people can
You'd be
get
lucky if you
involved,
get 6 tickets. I mean, I know everyone knows this, but just the one, and those will go almost immediately. So if anyone's wanting a ticket, I would suggest you be there bang on 2 o'clock or whenever that, because they'll go within minutes. So you'll be lucky to get one, I would suggest.
Yeah, it's going to be a sellout and a wonderful night. Anything else today, John? Anything happening?
I think we've covered everything. It's really, we're kind of in a wait and see period at the moment, aren't we? We've had the first part of the season, now we're just in a wait and see mode, and I'm excited to see it, Hamish, and I'm excited to be back and talking about it. Whatever happens, doom or gloom, we'll be here.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you next week ahead of the Falkirk Cup tie and get your thoughts at that stage. That's us for today. I'll be back tomorrow after the game. Rizzo of GigPod fame will join me for that, so that should be good. Remember, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers as well. Not far away now, so you know what to do. We'll chat to you tomorrow.